Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy Wright, and today we are live at Business Boutique Nashville. Y'all, I'm so excited because we've done this the last few years where we bring our rock star speakers up here for this VIP panel where we're answering questions that you submitted. But first, I want to go ahead and introduce our panel to you. We have here to my left, Stu McLeran. We have Jennifer Allwood, Megan Tamty, Emily Lay, and Annie F. Downs. Y'all give them a round of applause. All right, so our first question is super general, so I feel like everyone can speak to this, everyone can jump in. We'll just popcorn this. This is from Angela Cox from Indianapolis. Angela, are you here? Oh, yes, there she is. All right, Angela, we got you. For sure she is. Here we go. Angela asks, what is the best strategy for social media marketing? Jennifer, I know you're just going to roll with this, so I'm going to start with you, and then everybody else hop in.
Am I on? Oh, I'm on. This is amazing. Hi, guys. Okay, social media marketing. Absolutely. I love social media back there. Being yourself, being real, being really transparent. And I'm speaking today on live video. You know, Christy, I love live video. So that's the best way to get engagement on your social media and also the best way to build the relationship, which is going to cause people to buy from you eventually. Once they know, like, and trust you, then the sale is so much easier after that. So that's going to require that you're yourself on social media. That's my final answer right there.
That's great. Everybody else hop in there. Social media, what are your strategies? What are your tricks?
Right now, Insta stories. I mean, we are dropping, I'm telling my team, drop anything you're doing and everything in marketing and just give me more Insta stories and give me more Facebook Live events because the live conversation, the live selling for us is like, and this is changing so fast. Like it's changed in the last 6 months. So Insta stories.
Am I on? I'm on. Know who you're talking to and know who you're not talking to. On my team, we like to define this person, who she is, what she wears, what she eats, where she shops, and then also who it is we're not talking to. You don't have to talk to the entire universe on the interwebs. You can have a specific core client and know who that is, and then tailor and strategize what you're doing towards her.
I love it. Stu, you got anything?
My big thing would be to get clear yourself on what you want to represent. So what values and philosophies and beliefs and what things do you stand for that you want to communicate in your social media? Because a lot of things that we don't realize are communicating messages in our social media, whether we realize it or not. And so it's really important to be intentional about being clear about what messages you want to communicate in your social media.
I love that, and I love that you guys are saying so many of the same things we've been talking about, which they don't know this because we didn't prepare beforehand to say, hey, here are all the things we're going to teach, so we say the same thing. But Megan Tamty ended her interview with asking for help. Stu is talking about know exactly what you're going to say and have a goal in mind whenever you're actually putting this post on social media. Emily's talking about persona. We were just talking about this. So you can see these are best business practices that all of these successful leaders use. So it's a great thing that you can implement in your business. Okay, I love this question. This is from Kelly Blankenship from Knoxville, Tennessee. Kelly, are you here? Yeah, Kelly, awesome. So this is a great question, and I get this question all the time. So whoever wants to take this and then run with it. How do I get social followers to convert into sales? I get likes, I get shares, people talking, but no appointments come from it. I boost promotions, contests, giveaways. How do I get people online to convert?
I'll run with this first. Biggest thing that I would say is that you have to, two things. One, you have to create anticipation for a sale. So a lot of the times when we have something for sale, we're just like, ta-da, it's here. Somebody, anybody? And what you got to do is you got to create anticipation. So one of the things that I believe is that the longer the runway, the bigger the result. And what I mean by that is the longer lead time you give to whatever sale or promotion that you're doing, and you create anticipation for that sale or promotion, the bigger result you will have. So the way that I recommend leveraging social media is you use it as a tool to create awareness of an upcoming promotion way in advance, and you drop little teasers. So for example, like in our company, our biggest promotion is happening April 25th, 2019. How do I know that date already? And why am I sharing it with you already? Because I'm already creating anticipation. That's the whole point. And so you want dates circled on people's calendars, so use social media to create awareness of future dates.
I love this. This is something that we have been doing more because Stu has taught us to. So even I love pulling the curtain back on Business Boutique and showing you guys why we do what we do and how we do what we do. And so we treated the planner differently because of our work with Stu. We treated the Academy launch in September because of our work with Stu. So when you feel like, I know as a business owner, you feel like, I'm so excited, I'm going to tell everybody all the things instantly. But if you can do what he's teaching of teasing things, you won't even believe what's coming. You guys won't even believe. Next week, I mean, it's going to be crazy. Just teasers. You build that excitement, you build that anticipation, and then the payoff is so much more. When we launched the planner in pre-sale, we sold hundreds on that first day because I'd been talking about it. Oh, it's not available yet. Sorry, it's not available yet, which is true. It wasn't. But I could have waited till it was available to talk about it, but I didn't. I talked about it when I had a mock-up. I talked about when it was a digital version online, like, hey, look at what's coming. You create that excitement and anticipation, and then by the time you're actually ready for them to buy, they're emotionally ready to buy as well because they've heard about it. It's not the first time, so I love that piece of advice. What about the rest of you guys? Jennifer, I know you deal with this a lot too.
I'm biting here to talk to you.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, thanks. So, building your audience, doing giveaways and things is not really best practice because it brings in a type of person that's the type of people that when they're at a home show, they're putting their names in those little fish bowls to try to win something. You know what I'm talking about? And that's fine, but that's not who you want to be buying your stuff. And so be really careful with the giveaways. A lot of those are against Facebook's terms of service anyway. And as someone, that I love my Facebook page. I don't want to shut down. So be careful of that. But what I was going to say is there was a girl I met here yesterday, Christy, and she went live on Facebook. She made 400 bows. She's in my coaching group. And she sold all 400 of those on a Facebook Live. And the moral of the story is Facebook Live will be a 6 to 7 times the amount of reach as a normal post. So she could have just posted one of her cute little bows and hoped to sell some. Instead, she went live 6 to 7 times the people saw it, and she sold out. So there you go. Live video to sell things is magical.
I love it. Emily, Megan,
I got to jump in. You could have 200,000 followers or you could have 200 followers. All that matters is that they are the right people and that you are loving them well. So back when we had 200, we have 200,000 now, but back when we had 200 followers, we loved them well, we served them well, we walked through every step of that client experience from engaging with us on social media to visiting the website to making that decision to receiving the product, but thinking through the entire process, not just engaging with them online, but that whole process is not only how you begin to attract people to you, but the way that you carry them through and get them to come back too.
Annie, I know you talk about this whenever, we've talked about this on a previous podcast, and I love what you say about this, where someone might say, oh, well, I only have 200 followers. What do I do? I've only got 200. Somebody else has so many more. And you have a great example. You're like, when are you ever...
Yeah, when can you ever disciple 200 people?
I mean, right.
Like, how could you see 200 people in a week anyway? So if you get to talk to 200 people 5 times a day, that would never happen in your real life, right? And what Jen said is so important. I'm like going to hang on to it, where she said, your followers know you, love you, and trust you. Because I'm thinking about, I think you said something about making appointments. I think at some point, if you have done the heart work of them knowing you, loving you, and trusting you, at some point you go, hey, I'm trying to do something here. Would you like an appointment? Like, do you have a friend that you think, would you mind telling them? I mean, at some point it's appropriate to ask, especially while you're building, to say like, hey, I have 3 appointments next week. If anybody wants one, here's how much it costs, right? And just kind of being that, I mean, if the right strategy is being true to who you are and being vulnerable, that may be a real simple answer, but at some point you just go, hey, does anybody want one of these appointments? I've got 3, you know?
Yeah. All right, I love this next question because this really tacks on to kind of what we're saying about conversions online, but it could really be in any scenario. This question is from Mary Helen Dennis from Westminster, Maryland. Mary Helen, where are you? All right, there she is. Awesome. She said, how do I get people excited enough about my product to buy? I would imagine, Stu, the anticipation, the tease is part of that, but you're really good about this. Like, you get really excited and you get people really excited. Let's start with you, and then we can go down the line, whoever wants to hop in.
I get really excited because I get really connected to what it is that I'm selling and the difference it's going to make in people's lives. So one of the things that has become an absolute staple in our company is that we have a thing called the Circle of Awesomeness. Okay, so it happens like once a sale is made, the focus of the company, the entire focus, is to help people get a result, to help people make some kind of progress. It could be a huge win, but it can also be the little wins in between. And so a whole focus is on the result, because once people get a result, guess what we have? We have a story. We have a great story to tell. And once we have the story and we share the story, it generates more excitement and interest. And so one of the things that for me, like when it comes to quote selling, is I never feel like I'm really selling. I'm just telling stories, and I'm just showing stories again and again and again. And that's what gets me excited, because this whole circle of awesomeness, as we're looking at it and hearing about it in terms of it helping us generate sales, here's the other side effect, is that the more stories you share, the more confident you get in what it is you're providing and the difference you're making. And that will help you generate more sales than anything else. When you know like what you're offering and what you're selling is making a difference, whether it's brightening somebody's day, whether it's helping them with their fitness, whether it's making their home more beautiful, it doesn't matter what the difference is, but you're clear on the difference that it's making. Then you show up in a different way, and then you feel better, and that's when you, at that point, making sales is almost effortless because you're just sharing stories.
I want to highlight one thing you said, Stu, and you're so good at this. You really are so focused on getting results for your customers, and that gives you a story to tell, but nothing is more powerful than a testimonial of referral, of word of mouth. And people that have had their life changed by Business Boutique, by your business, by their business, by the Business Boutique Academy, that's more powerful than anything I can say. So when you become obsessively focused on serving your current purchasers, your loyal customers, they will begin to spread the word for you of, oh my gosh, you got to go see my hair girl because she does amazing highlights. Oh, you got to go have this person teach your kids piano because they do an amazing job. So be focused. I love how he said that. Be focused on getting results for your current customers. And then not only do you have a story to tell, but they have a story to tell. And so if you hear from a Business Boutique Academy member of their life being changed, it's way more powerful than if I tell you. How can you apply that to your business to get their results so they're talking for you?
And it becomes so much more fun.
Yeah.
Like I really love having fun with our customers, like surprises. There's a book that I want you to write down and make sure you go buy. It's called The Power of Moments. It's by, the authors are Chip and Dan Heath. And this book, for me, just kind of opened up my eyes to the opportunity that all of us have with the products and services that we provide in creating significant little moments. And in the book, I'll just share one example. He talked about a hotel in California that is constantly booked. Of all the hotels that you could go to, this is not the fanciest, doesn't have the best bed, doesn't have the best views, doesn't have any of that stuff. But there's one thing that they do. When you're sitting by the pool, there's like a red phone. You pick up the red phone, and on the other line, somebody says, what color? You say purple or red or orange or whatever color you want. You hang up the phone. Literally 2 minutes later, somebody comes out, a waiter comes out with a silver platter. They pull off the lid of the platter, and it's a popsicle in whatever color you just asked for.
That's amazing.
Now look at that. So when you go and you look at the reviews, people are like, that's all they're talking about. They're raving about this one little thing that probably cost them 30 cents. But that's the power of a great moment. And so we can weave these into our into our products and services, and that's when it becomes fun. That's when it's like, it's a joyful time to be able to sell.
Stu literally just did what he's teaching and sold 200 copies of that book, right? I mean, he literally just said, here's why this mattered to me. It's going to matter to you too.
Yeah.
And that's
Referral.
how you get people excited. I'm going to go buy that book.
Yeah. Great example. Anybody else on getting people excited? Jennifer,
Yeah,
Emily, Megan, all y'all are
absolutely.
very excited people. So let me have it. What you got?
Well, here's what I think, Christy. I coach a lot of women every month, and there's sometimes a common theme, especially for women that sell a service instead of a product, is sometimes we like, gosh, we kind of like buckle down just a little bit. And what are people going to think of me when I'm doing all these sales posts on social media? What's my family going to think? I don't know. And I feel like our clients can smell that a mile away if we don't know. And so I think at the end of the day, you have to convince yourself that what you're selling is good. It brings value to people. It is worth the money you are charging for it. And that's all mental work. That's not product work. That's mental work that you have to do. And once you really believe that what you offer can solve a problem in the world or bring value to someone's life, your clients can smell that as well. And it's a great fragrance to them. And so I think sometimes too, especially on social media, if we post something for sale and we kind of hear crickets, then we instantly are like, well, I'm not doing that again because that was painful. Does anybody can relate to that? Nobody's saying anything. But usually on Facebook especially, we're asking them to go outside of the Facebook platform, look at our product on our website, and then we can't really expect them to come back and comment. So just be glad they're even going. But I just think that really believing that what you have to offer can make a difference is just critical.
If you don't believe it, they won't. So I
Amen.
love that. All right.
And I feel like providing them what they want, not necessarily what you want. As a founder of a company, I think this is really hard for founders who, I created this business out of a need. But when I opened up that store the very first day, there was product in that stores that I loved, but our customers did not. They told me they didn't like it because it didn't sell, and I had to get out on the step. It hurts, and you have to get out there and say, why are you walking away from the store today without anything? Why? What can we do to be better? And just getting feedback and making quick adjustments. And I remember finding things that maybe I didn't like, and it was a bestseller. Okay, I got to get more of these because I don't like them, but clearly our customer does. So I think understanding and being vulnerable enough to get feedback on your product and being willing to talk to your customers and engage with them and ask questions is really important. And at this phase of the business, just this summer, I traveled to 3 territories and did 3 days of customer focus groups with customers. And I was behind a glass window, and it was vulnerable. Like there were people in the room saying, "What do you love about this brand?" I heard things that I was like, I thought they loved this, and they hate it. And there were things that I've been preaching in our company. This is what our customer loves, and they were like, in every state behind doors saying, I hate this thing, and it was very vulnerable for me. But you know what? When you're in business, you've got to adjust, you've got to change, you got to do it quickly, so you can survive.
That's good. Emily, anything you want to add about getting people excited about your products?
Just to go along with what both of you down there said, I had a friend tell me one time, if you're not excited about it, nobody's going to be. And there was a point in my career, a very big turning point, where I was in a conference like this, and I was making wedding invitations, and I had samples in my bag and my business cards, and I was ready. And she said that, and I was like, oh, I'm not excited to do this anymore. And it was that moment where I thought, maybe I go back to that job I just left, and maybe I'm not excited. Something's not connecting for me. And her saying that was a very pivotal moment. And I sat down with myself and said, what is it that you're passionate about? What is that thing that you're struggling with right now? What is it that you would be excited to shout from the mountaintops? And I thought, my struggle right now is that I have this kid that I love and this career as a graphic designer that I love, and I can't do both. And I need a product to help me manage my time better. And so the Simplified Planner was born out of that. And now I could talk about it for 10 years,
I love it. So this next question really applies to all of you because all of you have experienced this in some way. This question is from Alex in Bowling Green. Is Alex here? Hey, Alex, I love this question. She said, my business is growing much faster than I had imagined. What are some of the common challenges I need to watch for while growing at a rapid rate? Or maybe what are some common mistakes people make in the growth process that you would help us avoid?
I'll go. Yep. Going into debt. It's very easy. Our company grew extremely fast, and we sold out of product very quickly. And I thought it was going to be this cool thing where everyone was like, demand is there. This is awesome for the next time. That anticipation was very vital and is very vital to us. But we also had people that were mad. You gave us this anticipation, and we really want it, and now you don't have it. And there was a decision point where my husband, who moonlights as our CFO, and I said, is this the point where we go take out a big business loan? Because that's what everyone told us to do. Go take out a big business loan. It's what you do. And we said, no, when we started the company as a little fledgling thing, we said, we're not going to go into debt for this. We're not going to put our family at risk. And we didn't. And we grew slow. And that is so hard to do because you deal with a little bit of backlash and you deal with am I doing this the right way? Cash flow is so hard if you have a physical product. But we went through those hard times, and now we're 10 years in, still debt-free, didn't bite the bullet. Don't do that. Okay, I'm done.
Anybody else? Yeah.
I would say when you're growing fast and you're experiencing success, I think it's always tempting to lose your focus. We're really good at this. Maybe we should open a men's store, and maybe we should open a baby store, and maybe no. There are so many temptations to do that, and for us, we as tempted as we were, I'm so grateful that we stayed focused on making the business that we had even better than trying to go start other businesses. So that was number one. And then number two, I definitely think, where I've compromised the brand was growing and not having the right team in place to sustain the growth, the quality of the product, of the service. And so getting that right team to sustain the growth is so important. So we've had to actually at times back down from growth and say, okay, we were supposed to open this many stores this year, but we're not because we don't have the right team in place. And then once we have the right team, kind of move forward.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is don't hire stupid just because you're overwhelmed. If you hire, it is way worse to have a bad employee when you're busy than to have no employee when you're busy. So you do not want to hire stupid just because you're scared. So just go slow. And I mean, really slow the business down.
Yeah.
Slow the business down before you hire somebody that you have to fire in 6 months.
The cost is insane of a bad hire. The cost and then the cost and the headache is just absolutely not worth it. So I love that. You know, one of the leading causes of small businesses failure is growing too fast. They try to say yes when they can't handle yes. For any of you guys that were at one of our first business boutique events, Stephanie Parker of Zippity Zip and then Melissa Hennett of Grace and Lace are two great examples. Both of them in different ways said no to Shark Tank, said no to an opportunity, said no to a lot of money because they knew it would make the business crumble. And so you have to know when to slow down. And I love that advice.
Shark Tank lives up to its name. More companies crumble because of Shark Tank than succeed.
We turned it down too. Same thing. Like we got all the way through, and we were like, we couldn't handle what would happen.
Yeah. So it's great advice. Even though it feels counterintuitive, you're growing at the pace that you can handle so that you can sustain it for the long haul. I love that question. This is a great question that is a fun one, and it's something I think we all struggle with. This is around this love-hate relationship with money, pricing, charging, all that. This is from Priscilla in California. Is Priscilla here? Hey, Priscilla, right there, front row. I love it.
I like your boots, Priscilla.
She's got a dental practice, and she said, I'd like advice on how to not feel guilty for charging patients a lot of money for my services, and even more importantly, helping my staff feel more comfortable about talking about money with patients. So just some advice in general around this awkwardness around money. Not everyone all at once.
Great.
Go on.
You say what you say about this. You have such a good answer.
Do I?
Yeah.
It's what we talked about earlier with when you focus on the problem that you solve, it removes a lot of that guilt because we only feel guilt if we're taking. We only feel guilt if we're focusing on, I'm somehow taking advantage of someone, I'm reaching in their wallet and taking their money. Don't focus on what you get. Focus on what you give, the value that you offer, the problems that you solve, and so on. And so when you shift your focus, it helps you understand that. We also, and I don't know if Dave talked about this, I didn't think I heard him say this, but when he was on stage, we have a lot of weird feelings about money. Those are feelings. That's what they are. Money is amoral, and a sale is an exchange of value. That's all it is. When I go to Starbucks, I hand them $5, and they hand me a cup of coffee. And it's because I want the coffee more than I want my $5, and they want my $5 more than they want their coffee, and we both leave really happy about it. And so when you take all your weird feelings around this out of it, and you realize that sales is an exchange of value, then it can help you get over that feeling of feeling guilty and realize that I'm serving the marketplace, I'm solving problems, and that has a value in it. And by the way, I think where some of this guilt comes from, and I hear women talk about this when we're talking about profit margin, as if profit is bonus money, fun money, just icing on the cake. It's not. Like, that profit has a job to do. It's a necessary element in the financial equation of your business. It is required for you to stay in business, make an impact, help more people. So earning a profit is not selfish. It's really, really smart, and it's what smart, successful people do. So I think it's that deep work that Jennifer was talking about around our beliefs around money that's way more in our head than it is in reality that we have to work on that affects our reality.
I got
go
two
on.
things to share. So for me personally, a big shift happened several years ago. My wife and I run a nonprofit as well as our business. And the very first time we were in Kenya, we were looking to build our first school. And at the time, I had a software company, and the software that we were selling was $100 a license. And so we were in this community, and I'm talking to the chairman of this community. I'm trying to find out like how much it costs to build a school. And I'm asking him about the cost for this, cost for that. And I said to him, what does it cost to fund the full-time salary of a teacher? And he said to me, it's about $100 a month. And at that time, like, it clicked. I'm like, well, wait a minute. If I sell one more license of our software, like, I could fund the full-time salary of this teacher. And then the real light bulb went on, which was like, Stewie, what if you sell a whole lot more? Like, you could have a whole lot more impact. And that's when it really connected for me, which was the more money I make, the more impact I can have. And so as somebody who is also running a nonprofit, I used to feel really guilty about making money. Now, I love making money because money gives you the ability to be able to do things that you could not do with your time. As a nonprofit, the most valuable thing that a nonprofit can get is money because it provides leverage. So that got me personally over the hump. As far as the business, here's the thing that I want you to think about. We have to look at the ripple effect of what it is that we provide and the impact it has, not just on the customer, but beyond the customer. And so for you, you're in the dental practice, right? Like, that's a huge deal because it's not just somebody's teeth, but what that represents for somebody. My daughter just lost her front teeth. She does not look the same, And so, there's a whole identity that's wrapped up in that work and what that does for somebody's confidence and how they show up in the world in a different way. Yeah. Get connected to that. And then the ripple effect that has on them and their family and so forth. That's when you really understand the value of what you're providing is not just dental practice. It is so much more than that.
Can I tag team on that for just a second? As someone who has bad teeth and who has to go to the dentist all the time, girl, I'm telling you, I'll pay any amount of money for that experience to be good, for me to leave there not traumatized. And I mean that. And I've got a whole lot of kids, and I'll pay the same amount of money for them. And so I was coaching this woman the other day who's a veterinarian, and she's amazing. But she doesn't want to be a veterinarian to just any animal. She wants, kind of the fancy dogs and cats, if you will. And I'm like, well, then, market yourself in that way and don't feel guilty about it at all. It's like what Christy talked about earlier with Walmart and Target. So just go ahead and go there and don't feel guilty at all because I'm telling you, there are so many people that, you see dental patients all the time. Make that experience good for them, and it is worth every single cent that you're charging.
I asked you guys earlier, I asked the whole room, how many of you really, really love working with cheap people? And ironically, no hands went up. So stop charging like that because that's who you're attracting. So believe it or not, there's a group of people that, like Jennifer with the teeth, we want to pay more. So charge for them because they won't come to you if you're pricing too low. A silly example, I used this earlier, but I like to get massages. If I see an ad for a $20 massage, no thanks. Right? I want to pay at least $80 for my massage. So if you're less, you're not getting me as a customer. So your price needs to reflect your value and the market that you're going after. So I love that. Just commit and go for it. Yeah,
and,
go ahead.
At Evereve, we talk a lot about purpose and profit because we run what we call a purpose-based company. So we have a mission and values that really we've leveraged to drive our success. But we can't do what we do if we don't have a profit. So to us, there's a lot of work. We can be purposeful and profitable. And we really can't be purposeful without that profit. So helping everybody that works for you understand that, I think, is really important.
Yeah, Ken Blanchard says, profit is the applause that the marketplace gives you. And so it is your report card of the fact that you're winning. It's not a bad sign. It's actually a very good sign. So that's a great example. I love this question from Katie. Katie is in Mason City, Illinois. Is Katie here? Oh, Katie, front and center. I love it, Katie. Katie said, I struggle with communicating my value and relaying that during a meeting with a prospective client. Here's the keywords. How can I be more confident during a sale? So let's talk about that because that's so important. You were talking about this before. Confidence is key to everything we're doing.
It's the stories. I'll come back to it again. I know it sounds silly, like the Circle of Awesomeness, but it really is a thing that we wholeheartedly believe in. And when you commit to that, then what happens is you gain confidence because of the stories of transformation that you're creating. And that's when you show up in a different way. And I'll tell you that the more stories we started to see come from our customer base, the more confident I became, which was like, this stuff is actually working. Oh my gosh, like this is great. And then so like if somebody in my world, like if somebody has a business and they want to generate more recurring revenue, I know with 100% certainty that I can help them do that because of the track record, And so I would just say, just get connected to your stories of your people and your customers, and it'll transform the way that you think about what it is that you're doing.
When we started this conference, I told you guys that Business Boutique started as an idea, and it was theory, and I was scared. Before I ever walked on stage, I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. 4 years later, I mean, we talk about it so excited, so confident because we have the stories. It's proof. So some of you guys have come through my book signing line, and I remember I'll have people come through sometimes, and they'll say, like, I'm really excited about this book. Do you think it's going to help me? I don't say, oh, gosh, I don't know. 50-50, it's a toss-up. No, I'm like, are you kidding me? Of course it's going to help you. This is the plan you need to win, and I can't wait to watch you win. And when you do, I want you to go ahead and send me your success story. Here's my email. Send it to this address because I want to share your story on the podcast. I can't wait to watch you win. That confidence is not something I muster up or make up. It's real because we have the stories. So get the stories, and your confidence will go through the roof. I love that example.
I teach this at Every to my employees. I think a great way to start telling a story is to say what you just said. I'm so excited. Because sometimes people are, I mean, I look around we have 1,500 women that work in my company, and they don't want to talk about themselves. Women are very, don't want to talk about themselves. But I'm like, well, here's what you can say that I think everybody might make you feel better. Like, what are you excited about? What are you learning? But I heard you say, I'm excited about this. I think that's a great way to go in selling your product is by telling people what you're excited about. Like, I'm excited. Like, say those words about da, da, da. That's a good way to start your story.
So I'm just going to come from a slightly different angle. So I noticed a few years ago in my business, like I'd get to a certain level of sales and then it kind of stopped right there. And I'm like, what's happening here? Why am I capping out at this amount? Like, what's going on? And I remember I had a webinar once. I come from a background of teaching people how to paint. And so I remember praying like, I really hope I get 200 people in this course. And I got 200. And then I remember seeing the sales go up to 300. And I'm like, oh man. And then I remember seeing the sales go to 400. And then I bawled like a baby. Because for some reason I felt like worthy of 399, but I didn't feel worthy of 400 people. Like something clicked in my head. And I was like, what the heck? Who do I think I am? What am I doing here? And so just being completely transparent, I've had several times in my business where I've kind of gotten to that thing where I'm like stuck up against something, and I've had to go to therapy. I'm just putting that out there because I'm like, what is happening in my head that I am sabotaging myself? And so I just would encourage you that if you ever get to a point where you're just up against that same roadblock all the time, go talk to somebody that can look at your business from an outsider's point of view and maybe just help you figure out where that's rooted, where that's coming from. Why when you get to a certain point do you sabotage yourself? Because that's what I personally was doing. That was a game changer for me. I'm all about the therapist. The therapist and not the dentist. Yeah. The therapist and not the dentist. That's where I'm at. I love you, though. You're cute as a button. I'd go to you if you're in Kansas City, but...
I think you also have to go scared a little bit. Mm-hmm. There are things in my life that I don't like to do, and the more times I do them, the more confident I become. Yes. I hate flying. I'm here, though. Yes. I hate flying, but I have to fly so much for my job, and I swear the more I do it, the more comfortable I become, the more pep talks I give myself when the plane takes off and I turn my headphones on. It's fine. You just get, you become more confident. Another thing I think is that we have to be confident enough to ask our clients, our past customers, for those testimonials. Yeah. Sometimes they live in their heads and we never hear them. Mm-hmm. I was getting ready to release my second book last year, and for my business, I reached out on Instagram stories, here we are again, and said, I would love to hear your testimonials about the Simplified Planner. If you have a minute and don't mind, we're building a testimonial page. And it was like maybe a week before the book release. And I had thousands of people write me. I didn't look at my phone for the rest of the day. I sat in my bed that night and just sobbed, reading, because I hadn't heard these stories. People were, we'd see a social post every now and again, but to hear those heartfelt stories I had so much confidence going into that book release that it was just unmatched. And I would have never known had I not just asked for it,
I have one quick thought for you, Katie, and I'm not trying to be the Holy Spirit on you here, but my real question is, what do you think about you? Because you should walk into a meeting confident because you are literally the only you we have, and we need what you make. And so no one else can reflect God to us the way you do, and no one else's product reflects God to us the way your stuff does. And so every meeting you walk into, that is absolutely true. Whether people buy it or not, that doesn't change the fact that what you make shows us who God is. And so we need you to walk into those meetings confident because we need you to believe that is true about you. And so that's how you walk in the meetings confident. I'm not confident of a lot of things, but I'm confident that I'm the only Annie. And so I got to walk in everywhere. I was like, well, yeah, I'm the only Annie, and I'm the only one who looks like God like this. And if people fall in love with the people of God, they will fall in love with God.
All right, y'all, before we wrap up, I would love to ask one more question. This is the $1 million question that everyone wants to know all the time, everywhere we go. I know you've been asked it, but let's answer it again because I know it's one of those things we always struggle with. Let's talk about time management. Let's talk about how you juggle all the things and what it looks like. And you can give us a high level, how you approach it, or even a really tactical, like I use this app and it helps me. Everybody jump in wherever. How do you manage all the things you have going on in your life and your business?
You starting?
Yes, go on.
Okay, well, I have my wife. Point blank. I mean, okay, here's the reality. So my wife just came back from an epic, she has a Facebook group called Lady Strength. And every year she does a trip. It's an adventure trip. So she just got back from driving across Morocco on a motorbike. Yeah, she's...
How cool is that? That's the coolest.
Yeah.
Can I be friends with her?
She's awesome. And but at home when she was gone was chaotic. So in true honesty, like my wife is absolutely the person that helps hold me accountable. You know, for me, I have a few hard-bound rules. My day ends at 4:30. I'm always home with Amy and the kids. I've got 2 young ones, a 7-year-old daughter who has no front teeth, and then I've got an adopted son, Sam, from South Africa, who's 4 years old. And so for me, like this time is the most precious of their years. So I have a hard rule, and I have a hard rule about weekends. Outside of that, though, like I found when Amy was gone, my schedule was whacked, and I was like working until like late in the night, and then Sam's like up in the middle of the night, and so if I were left to my own devices, I would be an absolute mess. So in all true honesty, Amy, and then Summer, who's at the back, the women in my life control my schedule and my time, and I depend on them. So at the end of the day, like that's my greatest time management is I have other people who hold me accountable.
That's awesome. So I know for me that first things first, when my life gets out of order in terms of my faith, then my time management just goes down the drain. So I have to start every day, I try to start every day with some quiet time with the Lord, with some Bible time. Everything just runs so much smoother. And yet that's the hardest part of the day to like try to, distractions happen all the time because I'm making a grocery list in my head and I'm thinking of the kids' schedule and all the things. And so that quiet time in the morning helps me with time management the rest of the day. We have a pretty busy life with 2 teenagers. We have a 10-year-old daughter, and we just brought a 4-year-old into our home. So my life right now is a little crazy in terms of time, but every time that I feel really overwhelmed, I usually find that there's parts of my business that I need to either be outsourcing or hiring people for or getting help on. And a lot of times it's my pride making me want to keep that. I've blogged for like 12 years. And so like little pieces of that, the other day I was like, why am I still blogging after 12 years? I mean, I can have somebody else help me with this sort of thing, but it's kind of a pride thing to keep that close. So when I feel myself getting really out of alignment, first of all, my family will tell me. And if you ask your family, they'll tell you if you're out of alignment. And so then I know I have to make necessary adjustments, get my life back in order with quiet time in the mornings, and cut some things out and hand some things off. And so that just makes everything go so much better.
So for me, time management just got a whole lot easier. I sent my youngest son off to college this fall, so I have a lot of time. No, no, I'm teasing. So for me, it's been prioritization. I mean, when we started this business 14 years ago, my husband and I, we said we are going to have 3 priorities: our faith, our family, and this business. And there wasn't a lot of room for anything in between. Mm-hmm. And I had such tight boundaries and said no, 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 no to a million things. The clean house, the nice house, friends. I had no friends for the first, I'm just now making friends. But the best piece is that, you can reset your priorities. You can, now we've reset our priorities now that our kids are gone. So I think just getting those priorities figured out and then having the confidence to say no and to sacrifice so much to help. But you need that so you can meet your priorities. So
you took my answer. No, I was actually going to say something very similar, that early on when I started in business, I said, I'm going to do this. I was working for the University of South Florida's Women in Leadership and Philanthropy program. That was my job before all of this. And I started this tiny Etsy shop so that I could leave and be a flexible mom, a mom of flexibility. And my husband and I said from day one, that is our priority here with this business is for you to have flexibility to go to the Halloween party or whatever at school. And even now that we have a team of 8 and we are in Target and we're doing all these things, like it always has to come back to that one thing, that one priority of be the flexible mom. And I have a team who is amazing and supportive of that, but I also expect them to make the same choices in their lives. So when our plates begin to be overfull, if my plate is overwhelming, they'll take things off so I can go to the Halloween party. I was at like 3 on Wednesday, so it's in my head. But same for them. If one of them, we have a woman on our team with a newborn, we take things off her plate so that she can do that kind of thing. So I know that sort of team setup is a little bit amazing. But I think coming back to that priority and knowing why you got into business in the first place is so important, no matter how large it is.
I have 2 quick answers. One is something Christy taught me that has literally changed my business in the last 3 months. Because Christy said, I have so many different things that I do and different buckets of my job. And she said, on Mondays, work on this. On Tuesdays, work on this. On Wednesday, work on this. And I haven't even got to tell you, it has revolutionized my week. Yeah. And so that has been time management for me. It's like I have a little notebook that I keep. Oh, if I need to work on a Tuesday thing, I write it down on Tuesday. Even if it's Monday, don't forget tomorrow, but don't work on it, right? And so I stay in my lane. And then the other thing I'll tell you that has changed my life time management-wise is taking a Sabbath. And I know that sounds opposite of what is actually true, that if you're running out of time, you should work more. The actual truth is you can do more in 6 days rested than you can do in 7 days tired. And so you need to take a day off. And actually, I'm interviewing new employees now, and one of the things we say in every interview is, you have to take a day off or you cannot work for me, because I am not willing to burn somebody else out or burn myself out. And so you have to find a day where, and I know I'm not a mom, and so I know that it's different when you have little people at you all the time, but you can at least find a chunk, a 2 or 3 hour chunk until you build it up to a day. But taking a day and not working on your company and trusting that it will not die if you take your hands off of it, and letting it do for a day will make you a better boss and a better business owner the 6 days you are working. I have seen in my life.
Annie is so, y'all are getting a taste of it now, but Annie is so smart. Like she's got drop the mic moments. Like we're all really good friends and we all learn from each other. And so I want
we go to Vegas together.
And we do go to Vegas together. I want you guys to see that we're not just teaching you to champion each other, but we're championing each other. And it's a model that I want you guys to internalize. When Annie was talking about time management, specifically the day thing, just to clarify, those are batching. Like what we're saying is we want you to batch like things together. So I have writing things, I have video things, and so on. And if you batch them, it's so much more efficient from a time management standpoint, because that means I get camera ready on one day and I do all my video in that day. Then you're not putting on all the makeup all the days. And then I write and I look crazy with a messy bun. I go to a coffee shop in a sweatshirt and I write. What happens is we try to do all the things all the time, and the mental energy required to switch gears and change tasks is exhausting. So if you can put the tasks that you do in your business into like things categories, into these buckets, and batch those like things together. This is something I've learned from Emily Lay as well. Emily Lay teaches this with simplicity. So if you can batch, what it does is it reduces your switching gears, it reduces your exhaustion, and you actually are more productive in that task. So that's a really tactical thing. I will tell you guys, when I did research on women with businesses at all stages, the number one challenge, struggle, hurdle, however you want to say it, was time management. So we actually end the whole conference by talking about that. So we will close out tomorrow and we'll do a full session on talking about that and how we approach our calendar. So before we go, y'all, isn't this panel awesome? Will you please give them a hand? Thank you guys. Thank y'all so much for being here. All right, that's it for this week. Thanks so much for hanging out with me as always. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast for more encouragement on how to make money doing what you love. Visit businessboutique.com. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here, y'all. Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Boutique. I'm Christy Wright, and today we are sharing another exclusive video training lesson from our Business Boutique Academy. Today's lesson is an interview where I got to sit down with my mom. I got to ask her all the questions about building her business and raising a baby and all the things. I think you will love it as much as I did. Check this out. Hey guys, and welcome to what's going to be a very special video for me. I'm so excited about today's interview because I'm sitting here with the reason Business Boutique even exists. She is the woman who I learned values and integrity and character from. It's because of her that you all know me to be persistent and scrappy. I am who I am today because of everything that she and I overcame together. Y'all, my mom, Darlene Thurber, is here today. Mom, thanks so much for being here on set.
I was just thrilled.
I know it's out of your comfort zone, but this is going to be so fun because honestly, these ladies feel like they know you already. And they've heard so many stories from me all along the way. And certainly you have been at our Business Boutique events in the front row, cheering so proud. And now you're here joining our Academy audience. And I'm so excited because they're going to get to hear a lot about what this whole journey has been like from your perspective as the mom, as the business owner. And so let's just start with a quick, easy question of what has this been like for you? Like, it's been 2 years, I guess, of Business Boutique since we started the brand and the events and the podcast and the book. And a lot of it talks about you and talks about your cake shop and your story, which is, of course, my story. So let them hear from you. What has this whole kind of recent journey been like for you?
Well, it certainly has been very surreal. It doesn't seem really like it's actually happening sometimes. I look up see the pictures and all of the people getting excited about their projects and what they're doing and their hopes and their dreams. And it's very, very exciting for me. It seems like it's almost just hard to believe.
Does it feel cool to see how your cake shop, which was 35 years ago now, has been an inspiration and a catalyst for now, like you said, so many women starting businesses, growing their business? Like, that's got to be a cool perspective and a cool seat to be in to see how, when you started that 35 years ago, you would have never known that would have been something that inspired thousands of other women to do what they love.
Well, that's very true. And even whenever we first started, I think that we were very kind of ahead of our time in a way when we first started because it wasn't that familiar for people to do it. It was a new concept. Deliveries and different things that we did was a new concept. And so I think it might have helped along the way. And then at this point, it's just exploded into so many exciting stories. So many, when I go to the Business Boutique and I'm sitting on the front row and they find out who I am, they come by and say,
they want your autograph, don't
they say, please just let me take a picture. Please, can you get me backstage with her? Because, you're her. I was like, no, I really can't. No, you really can. You can take me back there. And so they are just like, well, what do you think about this idea? What do you think about this idea? And it's just so exciting. It's so exciting.
It's really cool to see the camaraderie that happens at these events and people
yes.
are talking and mingling and that type of thing. And I know many of you in the Academy experience that even with each other connecting. And so we love to facilitate that because, as you know from experience, business can be lonely and, kind of forging your own path can be scary. So take me back to the beginning. For anyone that read the Business Boutique book, they've heard the cake shop story. They've heard it from my perspective as the little girl. You'd pull me out of bed at 2 and 3 and 4 in the morning and you'd, wrap me up in blankets, which I remember vividly, drive me down to the cake shop in that old van, which all the seats were out of the back of the van because you'd make deliveries and we would totally sleep back there on road trips. I don't know if I've ever told y'all that before, which is not safe, but in the 80s, we totally got away with all these things that you could never get away with now. And we loved it. We'd play board games and play and stuff. And you'd go down there really early to bake when it was still dark out. And I have so many memories of those early mornings and late nights and being in the cake shop. But let them hear from you. For take yourself back there, which I know is a long time ago, but you had a baby and you needed to do something. How did this whole idea even start from your perspective?
Well, when I was really, really young, I had got on a little blue bicycle and ridden it down the sidewalk and gone to the first place I came to for a job. I was 15 and it was a little florist. And so they said, no, get out of here. No, we don't need any help from you. And no, I don't know anything about flowers. No, I don't, get on out of here.
Yeah.
So then the next stop was a little bakery. So I went in their little bakery and very persistent, of course, as you said. And I said, no, I don't know how to make cakes. And no, I don't know how to bake cakes.
I'm not qualified at all.
Don't know how to bake pies either. But, I really will try really hard.
Yeah.
I really will try. They were like, rolling their eyes, I'm sure. And then they said yes. So I was like, oh, wow. So I just flew back home on my little blue bicycle, just like ecstatic and very, very excited. And so
this is your first job.
The very first job. And so fast forward after that, I'm 35 and 33 actually, I think, and. I was like, okay, so I'll fall back on what I know that I know I can do. I know that I'm comfortable with this ideal because nobody can question my ability to do this at least and do it well. And so it was interesting because my very first objective was where can I go that no one else is? Because I was very funny about was that when I was a little girl, there was a little hamburger joint, and we always went to it. And the very next day, there was this huge multi-million-dollar hamburger joint that came in next door, and I never liked them. Because I thought they were just so mean to come into the little hamburger shop that was already there.
You were always pro small business,
So I was like, no. So I wanted to go somewhere where no one else was because I thought I don't want to compete and I don't want to get in anybody else's business, literally. So I said, so there was a little bakery that was inside of a huge department store that was closing the very next week, and they were having an auction of all of their equipment. I was like,
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Like seriously, I don't remember any part
And
of
so
this.
I got a map out of Nashville, and I looked at all the bakeries in Nashville, and I tried to find where there was no one was there. And because of the hamburger place,
Right.
I took them real seriously.
Sure.
So I found I thought downtown, of course, downtown.
Oh, yeah.
Downtown was
Big
scary.
time.
Downtown was the scariest place you could possibly be.
Sure.
Downtown is not like downtown now.
Right.
Downtown then was like a scary place to
It
go.
was. I remember.
And, it was a very scary place. And so I remember thinking, but across the street was this big, huge department store that was closing, and their bakery was closing. So I called the little bakery, and they said, yes, it takes 24 hours to get a cake written on. I was like, 24 hours? I can do that in 7 minutes. No way. This is not good. This is not a good thing. There's a market here.
That's
There's a market here. So they closed on January the 15th. And so I saw this little shop, this little tiny candy shop, and there was 2 windows. And one of the windows was just dusty and nothing was going on in it, just a bunch of old displays just kind of pitched in there. The other window was real cool. It had ice cream cones and chocolates and looked real, real nice. And so I just walked in and said, I want to lease your window, the unattractive one. I didn't say that, but I said, I want to lease your window. They're like, what? I was like, yes. I said,
Like it's not for lease. You're like,
this is a business.
Right.
Like, we've been here since like 1921. Like, where did you come from?
Right.
And so I said, they said, besides, nobody's here to talk to you right now. I said, well, I can talk to them later.
Mm-hmm.
You know me?
Sure.
I can just talk to them anytime.
That's
Just
right.
anytime.
That's right.
Well, they're
Actually,
not,
I'll just camp out until they come. I'm not planning on leaving, so let me know.
So anyway, they said, well, they're gone. They'll be back in 3 weeks. And so I said, okay. 3 weeks, then what time on 3 weeks? And so 3 weeks later, I walked in the door and I had displays, all kinds of really cool displays with their logo on it, the Candyland logo, all about them, and I said, now I won't be any trouble at all. That was an understatement, of course. Right. But I said, I won't be a bit of trouble. And I said, I'll just do everything right here in my window. I have my own little phone, my own little window. And they said, well, you can't fit in the window. I said, well, I'll build out the window where I can fit in it. They were like, well, no. I said, I know all about construction, which of course that was kind of like
You've been saying that since, and you don't know a thing about construction.
But I love hammers. I do.
Sure.
I've always
you love to pretend to know about construction.
I kind of want to do construction.
Right.
But
that's your next business.
So anyway, they said, well, you can talk to them then. So I said yes. They said okay, and so then they said that's going to cost you $100 plus a percentage. And so I had said, I'd already told them what I wanted. And they said, well, what about, then they said, what about having a meeting with the man that really owns the building? So I said, okay. Then he said, we'll do it for this amount. And I just kind of froze. I was like, and it wouldn't make any difference what they had said.
Right.
If any figure they would have said, I would have said, that sounds perfect.
Right.
I would have never negotiated. I would have never been like, because I had no
Didn't
position.
even know. Right.
I had no position to negotiate, really. And so they said, okay, and so that's it. So I would go in there at night. It was snowy. It was in January. Nobody was there with the cleanup person. And the cleanup person knew that I didn't know construction.
Right.
He didn't say one word.
Yeah.
He never told the owner at night what was going on.
Right.
When I was trying to get the saw to work and I didn't know how to do it. Sure. And so the next thing I knew, I had this little U shape just for my body to stand inside of. And I was off.
To decorate.
I was off. I was ready.
So I love hearing the story because we've talked about it obviously over the years, but you almost kind of take for granted that that's my story. And there are pieces of it I don't even know. So for example, I didn't know that you put the Candyland logo on the cakes.
Oh yeah, when I first went in, because I was trying to get their attention that I knew what I was doing, and also if you always talk about them,
right.
if you're doing something that gets their attention, like I didn't have anything going on for me at the time. It was all about,
right.
so it was them. So I put and they were like, oh.
But here's what's so amazing, Mom. But what's so cool is, okay, so these ladies have heard me teach on a variety of subjects for, months, years, whatever. And all of the things you did are all of the things that are really best business practices. But you didn't even know that back then, which is so crazy. Like, you knew what your competition was. You found ways to be resourceful and scrappy. I teach you guys that all the time, to go buy this equipment of this place that's going out of business. You looked at a map to see where the bakeries were and found a spot where you're solving a problem that's not being solved, where there were no competing bakeries. You called and they take 24 hours to write on a cake. It takes you 7 minutes. You're like, that's a unique position. I can do things fast. Mm-hmm. And then I never knew this till right now, truthfully, that you put Candyland's logo on your cakes, which, y'all, I teach you this all the time about. All your customers ever care about is what's in it for them. So you always talk about what they care about. And if you're trying to get your products in stores or you're trying to lease a Candyland window, you talk about what they care about, what's in it for them. And that's what you did, which is so amazing because you didn't have business training. Like, a lot of this for you was intuitive. You're naturally, obviously, entrepreneurial. You're naturally scrappy, persistent, all of that. But I just love hearing those themes because you did 35 years ago, what people teach, what Donald Miller is, writing a book, Story Brand, about, your customer's the hero, make it about them. And you did this stuff before any of that stuff was cool. You just did it intuitively. Okay, so talk to me about this time in your life. Like, those are the steps you went through to actually get your little cake shop built and build out the window. What did you feel like? Like, how did that feel at the time of having a baby, starting a business? You're going back to something you did when you were 15. You could have just gotten a normal 9-to-5 day job. Like, what were some of your emotions around that time? Well,
it's so interesting because I think that whenever a woman, I'm very pro women, of course.
Sure, y'all see where I get it.
But like, to give you an example, for instance, a woman, when she's by herself, can do anything. She can do anything when she's by herself. Okay. Now, because she can stay up all night, she can stay up all day, she can work all night, she can do anything in the world when she's by herself. But when you've got a little tiny thing that's looking up at you like, hello, like the time that I sent out, a taxi cab to buy the milk because I was out of milk.
Oh, I forgot that. That's right.
Yeah, and you were like a tiny baby, and it's like, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to bundle her up when she's sick and get in my car and in the snow and try to go get some milk? No, it's like the desperation. It's a different kind of feeling because it's not you anymore. It's all about trying to fit everything into that the demands on you. The demands on you. It's so frightening, really. And so that was the biggest thing that it was just a whole new world. Completely about how to react and how to manage and everything.
It was really truly like survival mode, for you.
I just took one day at a time. I was just like, to give you an example, whenever I first started it, and every question he asked me, I just had a glib answer for. Well, like he would like, well,
you mean the owner?
Yeah, the owner. So the owner, like he'd be like, well, now, how are we going to get our money? I said, you're ringing up everything. Mm-hmm. You're handling all the money. Right. Well, what could he say to that?
Right. Sounds good to me.
So it wasn't like he would be like, I was going to, I tried to act extremely confident.
Sure. Even though you were probably making up those answers in the moment he asked you, right?
Yeah. It was really great because of the fact that I was trying my best to think of the answers that he would think of. Sure. He would ask me for. Because you try to, that's the whole key to everything is putting somebody and put it in their position. Put yourself in that position. And so everything that he was concerned about, I tried to already have an answer for that he would be at ease about.
Right. But I love it too because, and you've always been like this. I've watched you do this before where you give an answer that literally you're making it up as you go, but you're so confident about it. Yes. Even though it's like, I know construction. Do I ever? Let me tell you. And you did this, this was probably a few years ago. I can't remember, but we were in the car and you were taking an order. But you've done this, like you can apply this to any scenario, right? Like, okay, this is so funny. This is what she did. So she gets a phone call for, it was like someone wanted a cake for steeplechase. And their question was, do you do cakes for steeplechase? And you're like, absolutely. It's called the steeplechase special. We include little horses. It comes with 3 balloons. And you built out this whole scenario in which you literally made up on the fly. Right. Like I don't know that you'd ever done a steeplechase cake in your life. You're like, it's the steeplechase special. Of course, it's $75. The cake is this size. It comes with horses, balloons. You built the whole thing. And I was like, that's amazing. Like you were so confident because it really was about just we're going to figure it out. Like, let's make the promise. Let's promise we can do construction. Let's promise we're going to make the money back. Let's promise all these things. And then not only did that light under a fire under you to deliver on that, but you just figured, we'll figure it out. Like, I'll find a way to make this work. I will create the steeplechase special that I'm making up right now. I'll follow through, but you've just got to win them over and be confident. And I love that you really have always had that perspective. Looking back to how scary that must have been. And there were a lot of really fun times and a lot of funny times, but there was also like scary times. Like to your point, downtown Nashville at that time was scary.
Yes.
We would go down. I remember you used to always like keep a butcher knife with you. Like I thought
It was the biggest butcher knife I've ever seen in my life.
ever. But I'm like, if someone's close enough for her to use this knife, like we're in trouble. She always had a butcher knife. But it's just funny because there was a lot of scary times too.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I've talked on stage about. There was a time we went down to the cake shop and it had been broken into.
Yes.
And we didn't know if someone was still
there.
inside.
Yeah.
And how scary that was. It's pitch black outside. You know, we're alone. You're a single mom. I'm a little girl. And that was scary. What do you think was key for you of pushing through the fear, the doubt, and just the scary, hard, challenging times that we experienced all along the way?
Well, I think that sometimes when you start something, it can be the smallest deed that you start. It can be the smallest thing. And you really don't think that you don't really think that it's going to last forever. You're going like, well, things will turn around. Something will happen great. I'll start a new invention, and it'll be great. And this will only be a temporary thing. So you just think that you're just going to start it off real small, but then all at once it has a life of its own. It has a complete life of its own. Your customers are wanting what you said that you could do. And if you can't do it, then maybe you'll get an employee that can do it. But it creates its own snowball effect.
Yeah. And
So
you just kind of follow through.
You just keep on, and you just keep on going.
But that's an interesting point because some of those initial first steps seem so insignificant.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, at the moment you're like, there's nothing really that impressive about this one step or this one act. But I love, even as you tell the story, there's such great business teaching out of this because I talk to you guys all the time about the importance of the first step. Just take the first step and that fuels your confidence for the next step. And then I love what you said. It does take on a life of its own. And then the fifth and sixth steps are so much easier than the first step because then it's rolling and people are raising their hands saying, hey, can you make a cake for steeplechase? And you just kind of keep up with the demand. Okay, so you have some stories. Like you have some 35 years in business. You have some amazing stories, hilarious stories, weird stories, funny stories, awesome stories of cake shop day. So it doesn't matter which one. Let's just share some of the funny stories with our listeners. Any of them that come to mind.
Well, one of them was, it was my birthday, December the 31st, and you were in a school play.
Okay.
And it was a really big deal.
What year was this? Do you remember how
I
old
don't know,
I was?
but you were little. It was probably like maybe you might have been like 7 or 8.
Okay.
And so you said, now, Mom, now you've got to be there because I'm in the play and I'm going to be great and, it's going to be great. And I'm going to do this little show and you're going to need to be there in the audience. I said, of course I'll be there. Of course I'll definitely be there. So I was on a deadline to open up the cake shop like 2 days later. And so I had decided that I could personally put down 2,000 square foot floor tile in little squares. I thought, how hard could that be?
Because you were moving locations, right? Okay.
Yeah. Now, first of all, about moving locations, the United Nashville Historical Society would always ask, where are you going next, Darlene? Because wherever you're going is wherever we're going to, it's like you're the little yellow canary. That's like we're going to send you down the mine. And if the yellow canary comes back out alive, then that means that they're going to tear the building down. Because wherever you go next, wherever you go next, Nashville's going to lose that historical building. So we can just go ahead and count on where's Darlene's cake shop going to be next. Yeah. Well, it had been moved like 6 times, right? So,
and none of them were by choice, right?
No,
like every time you were kicked out because they were tearing the building down. I totally forgot that. Yeah.
So it was so funny. So this particular time I was on a real tight deadline. I was like, I can do this. I mean, I can just get those little pads for your knees, so your knees don't hurt. And it's kind of like a cake, just kind of lay those little pieces of squares down. It won't be that hard.
Kind of like a cake.
And so I had lots and lots of glue on my show. I remember just lots and lots of glue.
I remember the smell of it, literally being down there.
Oh, it was just so sad. And
this was the white and black, right? Floor tile, yeah.
So I said, well, I thought, now I can still make it. I can still make it to the play in time. So I think my sisters took you so you could be there to get dressed. The only thing my job was to do was just show up. And I remember I put on this really bright red and exciting Christmas dress that just looked like something you would wear to a wedding. And then glue was all stuck. and all I did do, I just had my arms so that my glue wouldn't stick to my pants. You know? I'm so
I'm so proud of her. Look at her up there shining on stage. That's amazing.
Yeah, so it was just ridiculous things like that,
Yeah.
and I was always trying to be there for whatever you were doing.
Right.
You were always into something.
Right.
So I had to be the one that cheered you on. And so that was it.
It's so funny though, because so I guess I was maybe like 10 or 11 when this happened. But when you talk about the buildings being torn down, a very vivid memory I have, which is saying a lot because my memory is terrible, is when, was it the Batman building? Not the building that was there before the Batman building that they knocked down. And we made that cake out of a balloon. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Okay. So
that was a very innovative idea.
I
back then.
know.
It was. It
No,
really
it
was.
is even today.
It was a baby bottle.
I remember.
It's a big baby bottle.
I know, I remember. So what's so fun is Mom has so many creative ideas, and y'all think I'm creative. Like, she has so many ideas. And so you were booked to do this cake, and you had a regular cake for them.
Yeah.
But she took a, is it Mylar balloons?
Uh-huh.
So back then, and I guess they still have them, it's these giant balloons in the shapes of things. You know, you can get them today for your kid's birthday party, like a Mickey Mouse or something. Well, this was a baby bottle. And so we took the baby bottle, turned it, blew it up, and then turned it upside down. So if you imagine the top part of it's down on the cake board, and taped it, like duct taped it, smashed it down.
Lots
so
of
it just
duct tape.
looks like
Lots of duct
a
tape.
block, a big rectangle block. Well, then Mom decorated that balloon as if it was that building, with icing, all the little windows, glass, doors, everything. The whole board looked like, the pavilion out front and that type of thing. So we walk in, Mom and I together, to this big executive meeting of like, they're smashing the building and this is the last celebration. And we walk in with this cake. They think it's a cake. And so we're like, oh, we're so excited to serve the cake. Well, Mom let me do the cake cutting, which was so cool because no one knew what was going to happen. This is the only cake we walk in with. And so like, oh, okay, everybody's around with pictures and that kind of thing. Like, we're going to serve the cake. And I put the butcher knife into the cake, and the whole thing crumbles. And it did it kind of slow motion because of the icing, the weight of the icing. And it crumbles in, and everyone's like, ah! It was like this amazing moment that I got to be a part of as a 10-year-old. And then, of course, they roll out the real cake that people are going to eat. But it was like, you have so many amazing stories of times where you created moments like that. And I love talking to our women about this is a lot more than business, and it's even more than your product. It's about creating moments and memories. I guarantee you, people talked about that, forever, of how cool that was to see that happen. And that's one of the 35 years worth of stories and memories and that type of thing.
Well, you just don't know when you pick up the phone and answer the phone for your business, you don't really have any idea what's going to be on the other side of the line. It could be, it's like, when you start a business, you're supposed to have a manual. And in the manual, it's like, if the customer says this, you say this.
Right, a script.
Hey, that never really worked for us because it was just like, you never knew what they were going to ask for. Just like the time whenever they wanted me to come out and a big advertising company was going to do this huge photo shoot of a monkey jumping out of a cake, and the monkey was going to be throwing money out when he jumped out. And my job was to make the cake, but it had to be a big wooden cake that the monkey could really get in. So I was like, okay. And they said, now your job is to be sitting here while the shoot is going on,
in case anything goes wrong.
Because things are going to go wrong.
Now, are you talking about a real monkey?
A real monkey. Oh, yeah. A real trained monkey, hopefully real trained. So anyway, I'm there.
I don't remember this at all.
I'm there, and I'm just sitting there, and I've got my icing. I'm really bored, y'all. Then the monkey comes out. He throws all the money away around. Then he starts to eating the icing, and then I have to go repair the icing. So this goes on for.
Make this up.
This goes on, and it was like a really, really, really a big, huge production. Lots and lots of money was behind this monkey, and the whole thing. It's a big, huge radio station. So anyway, so they said, now, darling, we need you to come back tomorrow because we didn't get through. We're going to have to do the monkey again. I was like, okay. So I came back the next day. Then they said, now we're going to need to book you again for July the 4th. I had this horrified look on my face. I said, July the 4th? They said, yes, you'll need to be here July the 4th all day, sitting here with the monkey, with the icing. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I already have plans with my daughter, and like fireworks and picnics and watermelon. They're like, no. We're sorry, but you're the person, you're the monkey person, you're going to have to be here. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to be able to come. Yeah. And so that was the first time I think I ever said no to my customers. I was like, no. Yeah. No, because sometimes you'll just have customers that are just ask you for too much. They just go over the line. They're going over the line. And so that was over the line. So we went and had our July the 4th picnic and I don't know whatever.
And never looked back.
But they never called me again.
I don't know what happened to that monkey. Hope it worked out.
They never wanted me again. I think that was just it.
That was the end of it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. I was speaking of, I always use your example when I teach our women, especially at events, to fire their crazy customers.
Yes.
And I was like, you don't have to be mean about it. I was like, Mom
No.
is so nice when she does it. I was like, when she is, doing a wedding consultation for a wedding cake. And I was like, typically people think it's bridezillas. I was like, it's not. It's really the moms that are the problem. My mom has noticed it's the momzillas that get too involved and want to
Upset,
live through their daughter. And I said, but Mom can spot it a mile away now. And I said, she does it so nice. I said, this is how she does it. She says, I get the feeling that I'm not going to be able to make you happy. And I want nothing more than for you to be happy on your wedding day. So I'm going to recommend you go somewhere else. I was like, isn't that the nicest thing? I was like, but she still fired them. And it's amazing how through 35 years in business, you've learned what the crazy customers are, how to set boundaries, how to say no. But it was through trial and error and kind of figuring it out as you go.
Because I think in today's market is a different world too. The customers in today's market are much, much more demanding. They're much more, they have such high expectations. Back then, they didn't really have, they were just like glad to get anything I did. They were like, oh yeah, you're our only hope, so we'll take whatever you can do. It's not that way anymore. Everybody it's very competitive, and people are very much more, have high expectations of what they want.
It's funny though too, because you've changed in business. Like I think I can share this behind the scenes, but like even how you were 20 years ago versus now, like now because you don't have to do this, you just do it for fun and because you love it, you're a little bit like the soup Nazi. Someone acts up, you're like, no cake for you. Sorry, no cake for you. No, you're misbehaved, you're rude. No, you're too demanding. No cake for you. Like it's so great.
But it's so much easier. It's so much easier to do it then than after they start crying their eyeballs out about the color of the roses aren't the right color pink.
Right.
Then it's better to do it first, but then have to worry about it later.
Well, and save yourself the headache in the process. Totally.
Yeah, because
that's so funny.
Especially today when people will be like, well, I saw this cake on Ace of Cakes, and I just really, I want it just like that, if you don't mind. Now, my budget's $35. I hope you don't mind. And so I'm just like, well.
No, you got a call when you were in the car with me in the voice the other day, and I hear her, asking all her questions. Okay, how many people, and what's the occasion, all this stuff. And I think you told me they wanted like a 5-tier wedding cake style. It wasn't for a wedding, but a 5-tier style, something like Ace of Cake, something they found on Pinterest. And you're like, okay, great. How many people do you want to serve? And they're like, 6. Like,
Right.
You got a tier per person. Like that doesn't work. My budget's $20, whatever. So funny.
So it is a different world though. In business nowadays, it really is, and you have to really move with the times. And so I think that's a good quality to have.
What do you think, just as far as being a woman in business, and obviously all of our Academy members are women in business, and they're doing this, whether it's a product-based business like cakes or a service-based business like organizing, graphic design, they're trying to start or build or grow their business in today's market. What do you think are some of the key qualities you've got to have to succeed as a woman in business? And I don't want to make this like a women's issue, like that kind of thing, but specifically, they're balancing exactly what you talked about, like the glue on the arms and a fancy red dress. They've got kids at their feet, sick kids. They've got a lot of demands on them. What do you think are some of those qualities that are really important to have if you're going to pursue growing a business as a woman and with all these demands?
Well, I think that you need to take a nap when they do.
Mm-hmm. Everybody says that. Mm-hmm.
And but I think that the main thing is that you just have to be really, really try to be super focused on what you're doing at the time and not be able to even think about what's happening next. You just have to be, can I just get through this right here? And the other day I was thinking about this interview, and I was thinking about the fact that I feel like in business sometimes when you're a woman, if you had a stack of cards and you said, okay, like, who's got the ace? Mm-hmm. It just feels like sometimes that your customers always have the ace. You don't have it, your kids don't have it, your husband don't have it, no one else has it, but your customers have it. So you have to really watch that, because sometimes I feel like that, their demands on you, can be, like you said, it's just like it starts out so simple. Well, could I have a cake in 7 minutes because I forgot my granny's birthday? And I'm like, sure, we can do that. We can do that because I can actually ice and decorate one in 7 minutes. Mm-hmm. Yes, you can. They're like, well, okay, that sounds great. That's what I want to do.
Right.
Okay, well, that'd be great. But now it's got to be round and her favorite colors are purple, and I needed to have it delivered to her because I'm in Texas. I'm like, well, no.
Right. Things have escalated a little bit. Yeah.
So I'm just like, so all at once you've gone from saying, so when you say yes the first time, you've got to be sure that you could say no a couple minutes later, because that was like, that's not what I bargained for. I just said yes to a cake right now in 7 minutes, but I didn't say anything about Texas.
Purple and Texas and round and all the
So
things.
I think that's the main thing, because otherwise you can be sure that you try to keep your cards close to your chest and be sure you don't get, too overwhelmed by everybody else's demands on you, because if you don't watch it, your customer can become, their urgency can become your problem.
Right.
As soon as you tell me that you've got a problem,
Right.
like say for instance that which really happened to me, a lady called and she was crying at 6:00 in the morning because the person that was going to do her daughter's wedding cake that night was very, very ill and wasn't going to do the cake at all. And all at once, as soon as she told me that problem, it was my problem.
That's right.
It was
became
my
yours.
problem. It was like all at once, my
How can
daughter.
you save the
It was
day?
all at once. It was my daughter that, what would I do? What would I
Right.
do? How would I feel? And so sometimes I think just, having a lot of empathy for your customers is good, as long as you just don't go over the edge, which I have before.
Yeah. Which I have before just a few times. What are, looking back at the last 3 decades in business, what are some of those projects or cakes that you're the most proud of or were the most interesting? I love the cake, the building crashing
was
one that
so
they were going to
fun.
knock in. You did the Corvette Museum. Tell them about that one. That was cool.
Well, that was really, really exciting. The person called me from a big company and said they were going to have the very first grand opening anniversary birthday party of the Corvette Museum after it had been actually, built. And that the person that made the Corvettes was going to be there. The man that actually designed the first Corvette, he was about 90 or something. He was going to be there, and everybody was going to be there. Dignitaries were going to be there. They said, we want something really, really super impressive. So they said, well, how much would that be? And I said, it'll be $5,645. I just thought that sounded like a great figure.
You just made that.
No, because I just thought, wow, that is so much money. They said, well, that'd be just fine. I was like, okay. Okay, so I thought, this is the biggest cake I've ever made. I hadn't even made it yet. I was like, oh dear, this is so frightening, darling. Now, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go?
You're going to figure that out later.
What are you going to do? So anyway, so it was really, really fun. It was really, really beautiful. We had to carry it up in 2 vans, and it was an exact replica of the whole entire museum, and it was just awesome. It was fun, and we stayed for the party, and it was just really, really great. And so I think that was the biggest $5,000 cake I ever did.
Yeah.
And that was actually the biggest, and I think the biggest one.
And it was massive. Like, it was like, how many feet long? Like, it was crazy.
It was around, it barely fit in. I designed it to fit in the biggest van I could carry, my van. See, it was like, how big is it going to be? It's going to be big enough to fit in my van. That's all I cared about.
Yeah.
So that's like, 96 inches long. So.
Yeah, it was crazy. So fun. Talk a little bit about what are some of those either mistakes you made or times when you felt like you failed, and how did you get back up afterwards?
Well, the most important thing, I think, is the fact that each person is uniquely your customer with their own problems and their own world that you're dealing with. So let's say, for instance, that they walk out of the shop with their cake and they get it home. They're very excited. Everything's going really well. The party's going to start in 3 or 4 hours, and their cat just eats the whole cake. And they're
Which
like,
has happened before.
Yes, and they just call and just crying. They're just crying and crying, very upset and very worried. And I'm like, of course, I always, can throw something together.
Yeah.
And so I'll be like, well, what can we do? Where will we go? What we could do? And I said, well, okay, I can be there. We can make another cake real quick. It may not be quite as exciting. It may not be exactly the right flavor you wanted or whatever. But we can do something about it. So it's being really very communicative with the people and being sure that you know exactly right then what you can do about it. Not like, well, next year we'll do a better job on your cake. And, they don't care about that. They want to talk about right then and right that minute, And so that's one of the things that's happened. We've had hilarious delivery people before that haven't really cared a whole lot about how the cake got there.
Just did the ingredients in some fashion make it to the destination.
Yeah. And so they're like, well, I don't know what happened. It was just kind of like a gravitational pull.
Yeah.
And it just fell. I was like, oh, okay. And so it's a matter of just no matter what happens, it's like your fault, my fault, or whatever, as they say in the movies, it's like it's your fault. When you're the owner, it's your fault. It's all about what can you do about it now. Not like plan A or plan B, but what can you do about it right now? Because that's all that matters. And so usually we can always just, make something happen no matter what it is. If it's, we had a wedding one time And the bride she seemed a little uncertain when she ordered the cake. You know, she seemed a little bit uncertain, but, she ordered the cake. She said, now we want it to be delivered at the last minute because it's going to be the beautiful Centennial Park, and my limousine's going to pull up, and we're just going to get out. It's going to be very, very romantic, and the wedding cake was going to be, sitting there, and we need you to get there really close to the wedding to deliver it. It's like, okay, no problem. And so the only problem is she wouldn't get out of the limo, and the cake was just like sitting there in the sun. It's just...
Oh, that's right.
The sun just kept on, the sun kept beating down. And of course, it would have been no problem if she just gotten out of the limo. Right. But so, it's like stuff like that. And so finally she got out of the limo, and the cake was just barely hanging on.
Yeah, like melting,
just barely hanging on. And so it's just all kinds of situations that you couldn't possibly imagine the things that your customers can get you into.
No.
They can just get you into more stuff. And as soon as you say yes, you're in trouble. Because you're like, well, you said yes.
Right.
You said yes, you could do it.
You said you would be there for the monkey cake. Like.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm sorry, you've got to do it because you said yes. And so you just be really, really careful, because one time this great big huge Lifeway, actually is who it was, Lifeway ordered these 2,000 cookies in the shape of snowmen for Christmas. And I was like, yeah, we can do that. Every time they said, yes, we can do that.
Yeah,
yes, we can deliver that. Yes, we can. And then the last word they said, they said, now I planned on doing snowman cookies that were actually no icing on them, because you can make them, they're very, very cool. They're just all done with batter. The very last thing that she said was, and we want them completely iced. And I said yes. Biggest mistake I ever made, because that changed everything.
With
because
stacking, with packing, everything.
Absolutely. It took like 500 times more boxes. It took like five more ingredients. But what did I do? They kept saying, it's kind of like Dr. Seuss, Can you do it on a bus? Can you do it on a plane? Can you do it on an airplane? So what I'm saying is just watch what you say yes to, because once you say yes, it's like all the steps that you have to go through to make that last yes right can go into a complete non-profit zone.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of, and some of our ladies that have team members that have employees will totally relate to this, because sometimes your customers get you trouble, sometimes your employees get you in trouble.
Make you promises.
So you have had so many funny instances where your employees would take orders.
Yes.
And they would write something down, what they heard that was completely wrong, and y'all put it on the cake.
Yes.
Sometimes you started catching it, like when you started noticing a theme with maybe a particular team member. But what are some of those examples where like they would say, happy birthday something, or congratulations on something, and it's like they write it down super weird. They heard a different word, and you write it out. What are some? Do you remember?
Well, I think one of the most horrifying was when a man ordered a cake, and he said that he wanted something for a woman in her 60s. But he wanted it to be like somebody wanted to look really, really old and really, 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 over the hill.
Sure.
And so so that's not really what he had said. He really said that's what my employees wrote down, that something like that. But what they actually wanted was something from the 60s. Oh. Like they wanted like peace signs and tie-dye.
Right. From the decade of the 60s.
Just really, really cute. And it was just, when they came in, they were just like horrified. So horrified. And it was just like, well, we can change it, we can do it, we can fix it, we can make it. And they were like, it's too late. I said, no, it's never too late at Darlene's. Right. It's never too late at Darlene's.
I can do a cake in 7 minutes. Here we go. We'll wipe it off.
So it was just like, so they really will, and they'll just put down stuff in, or they just won't even put down half the details that they just left off. And so then, of course, it can be very, very, because this is not like a pizza delivery. It's not like a pizza delivery.
Pepperoni or sausage. It's hard to mess
and they're
up.
like, well, we'll just bring you another pizza, or like, we'll do this better the next time you want a pizza. Oh no, this is like a year away. They don't want to talk about that. They want to talk about right now.
Right. Oh, that's funny. I don't remember that story. Okay, well, we have worked on some projects together through the years, because as y'all know, I've been in the business at all ages. So let's tell them about the time that we worked on was it 3,000 cupcakes? So I'm going to tell my version of the story, and then you tell them the moment when you're like, had the aha moment.
It's like,
this is us when we're together.
It's like a little problem with math here.
Right. Okay.
Little problem with math.
So this is to give you guys a timeline here. This was maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago. So
it's much longer than that.
No, because I was engaged, or I was about to be. This was going to be my last debt to pay off. That's the reason I know that.
Okay.
Because I was paying off all my debt, and it was like my last debt to pay off, and I had, I don't know what it was going to be, like $3,000 left,
it was a lot,
something like that. But you got an order like that week for 3,000 cups. It was something that was going to be the exact amount of money. And Mom said, if you do this order, you can have the money. And I was like, I'm in. Like I was working full time, but I was like, I can do this on the weekend, at night, whatever. And so we did. So we got the order. It was 3,000 cupcakes, which in our head, we're like, yeah, we can do that. I mean, it was just me and you working on it, right?
Yes.
Like, I don't even think any of your employees helped us.
Right.
And y'all, we baked and we never stopped from the batter to the oven, back and boxing. I mean, we didn't sleep, and you and I can go on no sleep. Like, we're high energy people, you can tell. And we just drank caffeine, drank Cokes, played loud music, and we did not sleep. And then I think it was maybe
about 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it was like 24 or 30 hours into this. I started doing some calculations that we weren't going to make it. Like,
it was just like that was just it. It was just so great the way you just was.
Whatever the delivery time was. In my head was, so I said something to you. You were like asleep on the couch.
I was on the couch. I was gone. I was just like, and she comes and says, hey, Mom, excuse me, I need to wake you up I need to tell you about your math problems here. If you never stop, you're still not going to make it.
That's what it was. It was like, if we never stop going, we don't sleep the next 2 days, we will still not make the delivery time. I was like,
it wasn't 2 days. Now, it wasn't that many days. It was only like, we only had like about 6 more hours left at this point. At this point,
you're right. But I mean, I'm saying through the process total, we had like 2 or 3 days from when we started.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had like 6 hours left. It's 4 a.m. Nothing is open except, I guess, like a 24-hour Walmart. And I did the calculation because I was feeling like, we're still not even close. Like, what are we missing here?
It was just, you think it doesn't sound that bad, but when you really get down to doing everything by hand,
every square inch of the cake shop was covered in these boxes of cupcakes. And I calculated, I was like, okay, if we never stop going and we just go as fast as we can, we'll still not make it. And so we realized we needed more pans and more ovens. It was like we couldn't have them cooling.
More pans is all we needed.
Yeah, we couldn't have them cooling because we needed cakes in the oven the whole time. So we ran out, got some more pans, did it, and I got the money and became debt-free, which was such a fun thing. But I mean, you and I have so much fun together. So even these crazy projects, we have.
But it was just like, I think I just thought that anytime, how if you have a night, you just think I can do anything in a night.
You can do anything.
Because in a night, nobody can stop you. Yeah. Nothing's gonna interrupt you. You can just do it if you've got the night, but the night wasn't enough that time.
What are some more either stories or projects we've worked on together? Can you think of any more that we've done it? Let's talk about some of your other businesses. Because y'all, Mom is an entrepreneur to the core, and the cake shop is the only one you know about. But Mom has had lots of businesses. I'll start with one, then you can chime in with some other ones. Darlene's Dreamboat Services.
Yeah. Now, if you'd never broken your arm, that would have been a big business.
I'd be running that business today, no doubt. This was our way to make money, be outside, and
in the sunshine, and be around boats, which we love.
And be around boats. So she literally started Darlene's Dreamboat Services. There's a picture of me in a toy boat wearing a sailor hat when I'm 10 years old.
And you looked cute, Christy. You did look cute.
I did.
Your little sailor hat, yeah.
Very cute. I think we did like 2 boats. But we made like $75 or $100 or something like that. And we were outside. We were just laughing. With your girlfriends when they were too, of course. We made these people believe that we were real boat cleaners.
How hard can it be to clean a boat? I mean, really, how hard can it really be? It couldn't be that hard.
Okay, so Darlene's Dreamboat Services was one of them. What are some other ones that you had? Some other business ideas? There was Concrete Cupcakes.
Oh,
Talk about that.
Now, Concrete Cupcakes was way ahead of its time, of course. Now, what happened was I just took these little cupcakes and I filled them with concrete and put a paper clip in the top of them, and then the next thing you knew, they held down balloons. Now, I know that nowadays you go and get the darling, beautiful little concrete things that are really normal looking.
Right.
That are real beautiful and festive with their little purple and little, aluminum things.
Right.
But these held, before that, you didn't have anything to hold cupcakes down. I know that's hard for y'all to imagine in your time, but this is back in the 80s before they only had little cardboards and little plastic things would not hold down a peanut in the first place. And so, of course, I thought, well, wouldn't that be a great idea? Well, of course, I made hundreds of them.
Oh, hundreds.
And
they're still in our house today.
No, they're not. No. Listen, y'all, they were very popular because, of course, I used them in my own bakery. So why did I care whether anybody else liked them or not? All my customers thought they were very, very great. Yeah. And so you could just get all kinds of balloons attached to them because there they would hold it down. That was one.
Okay, we got to talk about the spiral stand.
Well, you tried to sleep. You tried to sleep at night when I'd be out there with my saw.
Hey,
my saw and my hammer.
You're big on construction, as we've already covered. So seriously, this was an incredible invention. You got a patent on it. Mm-hmm. It was hugely successful. It's been featured in magazines all over. Talk a little bit about the spiral stand, because it's really cool.
Well, it was just I came up with an idea. I would go out in the garage while you were trying to sleep, in middle school.
I do remember this.
And trying to do your homework, and you could just hear the saws going. It just didn't bother me at all that, of course, nothing was working I was trying to do. And so I took it to a place, and they said, I said, I really want to make this bend. They said, you can't bend glass. I said, I know you really can't bend glass, but if you could. I said, what about like plexiglass? They're like, no, you can't bend plexiglass either. I'm like, well, but what if you just cut it in a circle and just put it up kind of like a slinky, and then it would just turn into a curve? And they were like, well, yeah, I guess you could do that. So then that's how it actually started. And then what it is, I had all these customers that would come in the bakery and they'd be like, it's kind of like the customer you just mentioned in the earlier segment that said that they wanted this huge, huge cake, but they only wanted to serve a few people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, lots of wedding, they want a really huge production, but they don't really want a whole lot of lots of cake to serve.
A big cake for like photos, like visually, but they don't want.
So
all the
this
cake.
was just a spiral that would actually you had not that much cake, but it was really huge. It made it look like a big show, and you could put lots of little cupcakes and stuff on it. And so that's what I worked on, and I would just keep on and on and on, and I would take it to places and try to get them to do it. And and when I couldn't do it, of course, with my saws. But I finally did it, and it was very, very discouraging because, of course, everybody thought it was ridiculous. And it really still is kind of ridiculous. Nobody ever uses that much lately. But the thing about it is it was a big thrill for me. And
well, it was very new and innovative at the time.
Yeah, at the time,
this was like, I don't know, 15 years ago or something like that. And if I remember correctly, you had a metal version that was like stationary, where if you guys could picture this, I'll try to get a picture for you guys and put it in the video. But it was a spiral. So if you imagine like a spiral track, and then it had a topper, and then you would have flowers around the bottom, flowers inside, that type of thing.
And cupcakes would go on it, or the cake could actually go on it. And then when you cut it, you just chopped it up. It was really, really easy to cut. And it was really, really fun. And we did have it in a magazine. And then I was in the Inventors magazine, which, of course, I still have that in my garage. I still have that article in my garage, of course. And Women Inventors. That was the name of that was the front cover. Women Inventors, and yay.
And then you had a plexiglass version, like you said, where it was flat.
Yeah, you just pull it up.
You shipped it. You shipped it to people with the columns. Yeah. And they pulled it up literally like a slinky and stuck in the columns. They could assemble it themselves, which is so cool.
That was my glory days.
Yeah.
Bruce Springsteen.
But it's so funny because you have no shortage of ideas, which I drive my team crazy with all of my ideas. We were just in New York, and Dave Ramsey introduced me as the person that she has so many ideas our team can't even keep up with all of her ideas. But I get that from you, which is just such a great quality to have in business, because to your point, one person says, oh, there's no way to do this, or oh, there's a hurdle here, or that'll never work. You're like, well, what about this? Well, what if you could bend glass? Well, what if? And you just are always finding a way around those hurdles, which is certainly been a quality that's been attributed to you being able to be in business for so long, for 35 years. So now, we joked about this a minute ago, but you don't have to do it now. You still do it. You still make cakes for people, wedding cakes or cupcakes or whatever. Why do you do it? Like, why do you still love to do it?
Well, I think that you all wouldn't really, all you young people, that are probably, listening to this, would probably not think about this. But whenever you get older, you can just become sidelined. You could just be, you're no longer really in the mainstream of what's going on in life. You're just kind of out here retired or sitting in your rocking chair or which of course, I like the fact that people still call. They'll be like, well, Darlene, you made my great-grandmother's cake.
Right.
The other day someone called and said, are you still alive?
What did you say? Like, yeah, thank you.
And so she said, I just didn't know that you were still alive. She said, you made my, wedding in 1984 or whatever. And so it was so cute. But I like the fact that you're still in the mainstream of what what's going on in their lives. You're part of their lives and their celebrations. And I think that's what I like about it the most, because you still feel valid. You still feel like you have something to contribute, because it's something you can still do, and it's something people still want. And there's a lot of businesses, when you think about it, that have started in 1984 that are no longer really anything
relevant.
Exactly, because they're like, we have something for that now. We have an app for that now. We don't need you anymore. And so now it's like, with this, it's still something that it really can't be done by a machine that can just be push a button. The personalization of your products is extremely important. That's why I think that's important. And I think that's the reason why I like it, because and then if I want to be gone for a few days, I can be like, I'm sorry, I'm at a seminar. It could be Christy's seminar, of course, but
watching her two crazy boys at the seminar.
But I could be like, I'm at a seminar. I won't be able to do any cakes today. But I love it. I just still love it.
It's so fun too to see how Carter, who's 3 now, it's like even passing that on in a way to this generation, my little ones. But he has this little truck he gets in at the house, and he's in this pretend phase, which is so fun. And just this weekend, he got in his car and he said, I'm leaving. See you later. And I was like, where are you going? He's like, I'm going to the bakery. I'm going to bake some cakes with Grammy. And, it's like he loved that he knows that about you. And I remember growing up, too, everywhere I went, I was mom was a celebrity in Nashville of the cakes, because I would go to the doctors and I'm like, oh, your mom is Darlene. 6 years ago, she made this cake. It had little balloons in it. And they tell me their whole life story. I'm like, that's so great. But everywhere I went, schools, doctors, dentists, anything, they always knew your cakes and knew you. And so it's just fun. And then one of the other things that was really cool about the fact that you're still doing it is obviously you did not only all of our birthdays and did the boys' birthdays, but you did my wedding cakes. And, everyone asked me my whole life, I bet your wedding cake is going to be 7 stories high. Because because your mom can do anything. And I think it was so fun what we ended up doing. So for our wedding, I didn't want some huge, massive cake. We actually didn't do a specific cake cutting. We cut out a lot of the traditions. We got married a little older and wanted people to just kind of have a good time. But Mom did 8 small wedding cakes. So they were 3 tiers. And I don't know, what do you think? Like this high, Mom? It's not really small, but smaller than massive.
They were pretty small. Yeah.
They were 3 tiers each, and they were all decorated different within our color schemes, and there was one per table. So every table had their own miniature wedding cake, and they were all different flavors, and we had a little note on the table that said, your cake flavor is carrot cake or red velvet or whatever, but after you try yours, get up and mingle and try other people's cakes. And it was the coolest moment. Like, it created the moment that is exactly what I wanted, which is my family mingling with Matt's family and guests that didn't know each other, and everyone's going around like, what kind of cake do you have? Because there was plenty for everyone to try everyone's. And that's something that if we didn't have Mom doing our cakes for free, we would have never been able to afford 8 small wedding cakes. But to me, it was so much cooler than having one 7-story cake. It was more about the guests getting to know each other and hanging out and mingling. And that was I wouldn't do it any other way. Like, to me, it was like one of our favorite things about our wedding. All right, Mom. So I know there are probably some women in the academy that are watching right now, and they are in some way, shape, or form in your shoes from 35 years ago. They might have little kids. They might be scared. They might be overwhelmed. They're just getting started. They're getting questions from people that they don't have the answer to. Mm-hmm. They don't know construction. They don't know how this is going to turn out, or even if they're cut out, or even if they're going to make it. What would be some advice that you would give them to someone that is today where you were, when you were getting started?
Well, I think the most important thing is just not to think too far ahead. Because I remember the first day that I started, I had $63, and so whenever I remember thinking how many ingredients and how many boxes and everything could I get, for $63, and so I think that I never imagined, what all I was going to have to do after that, what I needed to do next, and I think also is if you have enough confidence in the fact that you really want to do it, you really want to give it an all-out try, not a halfway try, but a really all-out try. Then when you do, you just take a little bit more, have a little bit more nerve, push your boundaries a little bit, because you can always step back. You can always step back if you have to. And I think that was the main thing, is not thinking too far ahead. My father was a minister, and he used to preach a story about I don't even know the whole Bible story that much about it, but I remember that these people would go over to this other land, and they looked over there in the land, and they came back to report, and they said, there's just giants in the land. There's just giants everywhere. They're huge. They're just really, really giants. You just can't watch for the giants. You can't look for the giants in the land, because if you do, and you take too many steps ahead, it'll just be too overwhelming. You just, because sometimes, and also be sure to try to get a little bit of rest before you make any decisions. My father used to say, don't make any really important decisions, or be really give up on something when you're tired, because if you're tired, you really will see the giants. You won't be able to imagine. But when you got some energy and you've got some sleep, you're like, hey, I can do this. I can make it. Right. I can make it. I really can make it.
Tired decisions are very rarely good decisions, and I know certainly in parenting and business, there's going to be times when you get tired, but I love that advice. It's just so simple. It's like, okay, give yourself a night, give yourself some rest, and then make a decision about it at the time. What would you say to some women that are struggling with guilt? Because I know that, probably all women and men for that matter struggle with guilt at some point in some way with parenting and all these demands on us. And, my generation, we've joked about this, but my generation of mothers, has such a higher standard of what's expected of you.
Exactly.
Everything has to be perfect. Everything has to be organic and vegan and farm to table. And you've got to have your monogrammed outfits for every single holiday. Like, there's all these standards in parenting, but that also translates to business. Everything has to be perfect and beautiful before you even launch your website or before you set up at a craft show. And you might feel this guilt of like, well, I'm not as good as Susie over here, or I'm not as great of a mom as this person. What would be some of your advice from someone in your generation that didn't have quite those standards, but you still dealt with your own guilt? I mean, we joked about the van, but we slept in the back of a van that had no seats in it. It's like it was easier in some ways back in the 80s of things that were okay. What about for these moms now that have this guilt and have this pressure on them? What would be some of your advice for them to kind of get through that?
Well, I really feel like sometimes it's almost just turning the tables, because I think that in today's world, when people are used to everything being so perfect, I think that everybody kind of likes the underdog.
Yes,
have you noticed
that's true.
They kind of like the underdog. They're like, well, look at that poor little pitiful crafts fair. She doesn't even have a tin.
Let's buy from her because she's pitiful.
Yeah, she doesn't even have a craft tin. Poor thing. I guess she couldn't afford one. But then you're just like, well, I think I'll just go over there and buy something from her. Yeah. She would really appreciate it more than the person that just, probably, their grandmother or something maybe fix them all up with everything with. So I think that
it's like back to the hamburgers, like go for the little hamburger shop.
Yeah, I think that part of it is kind of, you can also just turn the tables. It's like, I know that if you think about it that way, it's a little bit easier to make yourself feel comfortable about not feeling like it has to be right. Because if you wait till it's all right, if you wait till it's all perfect, then you'll just be fine tuning it for several years. You'll be like, well,
and
now
you'll never actually launch anything.
Yeah, because I think that, like I said, but once you take The Power of Intention by Wayne Dyer. But it's really true. Like if you just say it out loud, you just say it to your friends. You just say, I'm going to, and they're like, then the next time they say you, well, how's it going?
Right.
Well, I really didn't even do it. I just said that. I was just thinking about it. Well, what can I help you? Can I help you do it? I've got some stuff that, So what I'm saying is just that as soon as you just, the power of the words that you say, and it's also the same way if you are really negative, like, well,
it'll never work.
I can't do that. I've already tried that. Didn't work. Because with all my ideas, I'll come across with somebody and I'll say, what about this? Have you tried that?
Right.
We've already tried that.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't work. And I'm like, but have you tried it, on Saturday or Tuesday?
Right.
So I think that that's the main thing, is just being willing to have the nerve to just, like I said, just to give it a try. And when you solicit people's help, total strangers will help you just because I think people just like the underdog.
Right.
They just like the underdog.
It's funny too, because you're such a confident person. Like when you approach a problem, you approach that problem confidently. Even if you have no idea how it's actually going to turn out, you have no proof that you're going to be able to solve it. Like, you'll confidently approach a problem that you have absolutely no idea the end result. But what's amazing, and I've learned so much from you on this, as with so many things, but I've been teaching the women, confidence doesn't mean you have the answer. Confidence doesn't mean it's all going to turn out perfectly. Confidence simply means you're willing to try. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what really confidence is. I'm willing to give it everything I have. I'm willing to figure out how to fix this spiral stand or build out your showcase window or whatever. I just know I'm going to try really, really hard. And if that's the case, if that's your parameters for confidence of just you're willing to try, you're willing to believe and go for it, then you're going to see so much more potential realized than, to your point, the opposite of, oh, it'll never work. Oh, I'm just going to stay stuck because that's never going to work out.
Sometimes people will be, you've got both ways. Some people will be very, very, encouraging, and some people will be like, they'll be like, well, bless your heart. That was a cute idea, but So.
Well, and it's funny too, because I think you and I are the type of people where if someone says we can't, it's like, that's just fuel. Like, you can use that to fuel your fire of like, oh, okay. Like, do you remember years ago, this was maybe 5 years ago or something, here at our company, we did that big Christmas decorating contest.
Oh, gosh,
I'll make this story real quick because I know we need to wrap up. But I had this idea, lots of ideas, to, over our cubicles, build an entire ice skating rink. Like, our theme in our department was going to be New York, because we're having this big contest across the company to decorate for Christmas. And so I was like, oh, we could make I'll take, again, 4x8 from Home Depot of those white boards and build them together with white tape and make an ice skating rink. And it's going to be Rockefeller Plaza. I'll get real Christmas trees and smush them around the column.
Make them one big one?
Yeah. And our leader at the time was like, that'll never work. And I was like, challenge accepted. And I spent, I don't know how many hours after hours here building that ice skating rink myself, just me, 4x8, no help. And like, I think I did some type of rope around or some type of string to tie these real trees to the column.
To make
and
it look like
y'all,
one big one. It was huge.
I'll try to attach some pictures to this video as well. And I did it. And so much of it was like, you said I can't do this. I will find a way to do this.
Thinking so big.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good, though. It's really a good
Yeah.
thing because you sometimes we think too small, I think.
Yeah, that's so fun. I've definitely gotten that quality from you, from everything, even from back in Overton days of the pep rally. Like our class would win the pep rally because I'd come up with some ridiculous idea of how the sign's going to float in from the ceiling or
That's
whatever
right.
for us to win. But it's so fun. Mom, this is so fun. And I know you and I could obviously talk and reminisce and tell stories forever, but I love not only that the women can hear from you, but I love that even as you tell these stories, like you're reinforcing so many things that I teach them on a regular basis about business and about putting yourself out there and being scrappy and persistent and setting yourself apart. And so I'm sure they have just absolutely loved hearing from you since, like I said, so many of them feel like they already know you from the book and from the podcast and all of that stuff. So we'll definitely have to have you back and dive into some more topics. But for today, thank you so much for being here. And I know you're busy, but thanks for taking some time to share with our listeners.
Oh,
and
thank
for
you. I
being
was
with
just
us.
thrilled. Just thrilled.
All right, guys, your action step for this lesson. Are you ready for this? This actually doesn't apply to your business at all. I just want you to call or text your mom and tell her that you love her. How fun it is to have strong women in our lives. And maybe it's not your mom, maybe it's an aunt or a teacher or someone else that has loved on you and built you up. I'm certainly a product of this woman right here. So your action step for this lesson is to call or text or email and encourage a woman in your life that has inspired you and believed in you, that is the reason that you are who you are today. Mom, I love you. Thanks so much for all you do.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you want to find out more about joining the Business Boutique Academy, well, you can join the wait list by clicking the link below.